muted. How can we tell if anyone's watching? Because I guess
it'll come up down there. Hello, everyone. For those of you who are going to watch the replay, we're just waiting for some people to join.
Good thinking to say that. I was like, who are you talking to?
I'm talking to the people that are watching the replay.
Makes sense. Right, we're just going to do some tweets.
Just going to tweet about it.
So get everyone to come along.
So bear with us for a moment here.
As we look at our phones. This is just like hanging out at a party.
It is. It's exactly like hanging out at a party.
Okay.
One person has joined. Hello, welcome.
Welcome to our Q&A.
We're just waiting for a couple people to join, just putting out a couple tweets about the event. If you would also like to tweet about the event, you can do so. The link to it is on our Twitter at DesignLifeFM.
Also, there's how do people ask questions? Do they just type?
Yeah, so if you would like to ask us a question, you should see a question box on the right-hand side of your screen, and you can type in a question there, and we'll see them. And you can also upvote questions. So the more upvotes a question gets, the higher it gets, so the more likely we'll answer it.
Yeah, I mean, we'll probably answer all of them, let's be honest, but we'll just know to answer that one first.
Yeah. So any questions you have, feel free to put them in the side, and we'll get to those soon.
Should we start off with who we are?
Yeah.
Hopefully everyone watching knows, I don't know, I guess you've listened to the podcast before, so you know a bit about us already, but I'm Charlie, in case you didn't know our faces yet, because that might be a thing, you know?
I guess I forget that, like, the podcast has no visuals, so people might not actually know who is who or what we actually look like. Yeah,
because we do include that photo of us at the bottom of every newsletter we send out with links to our episodes, but yeah, maybe we don't say who's who, so people won't know.
So this is Charlie.
Yeah, I'm Charlie. So I'm a designer. I work at a tech startup in London. I have many side projects, including a YouTube channel and a little t-shirt company. Those are my main things, main overview. And this is Fem.
I'm Fem, or Femke, and I'm also a designer. I work during the day at Atomic, which is a design and prototyping tool. And in my spare time, I do a lot of different things. So I freelance, so I work with clients under my sort of design studio, which is called The Apartment, and I do that with my boyfriend Owen, and through there we kind of run like a blog about marketing, freelancing, design, and all my projects kind of stem from that. But the other project we do is this podcast.
Oh yeah, obviously. So we've got a few more people join now. In case you didn't hear us at the start, feel free to ask us questions. There'll be a box at the top right that you can type them into. We think it's the top right.
Yeah. I think so.
And leave us some questions. I thought we'd start though with why am I here, Fem? Why am I here? Why am I with you in our room? Because we normally record our podcast separately. So Fem is in Amsterdam and I'm in London, and we do it over Skype, and we each record our audio separately on microphones like this one. Yeah. Right here.
But you're here in Amsterdam, which is pretty cool. We're actually in the same place, which unfortunately doesn't happen as often as it used to. We used to live together back in New Zealand, so if you haven't figured out where our accents are from, that's it. And Charlie is here visiting me in Amsterdam because we're going to a conference over the next couple of days.
It's the Next Web conference, if you've heard of that. Yeah, we'll be tweeting about it and things, I'm sure. So if you want to hear insights from the conference, make sure to follow us on Twitter. I'm at Charlie Prangley, which is impossible to spell, but I don't know. It's linked all over the place.
Yeah, I'm Femke SBS. So if you have any questions for this, put them in the right-hand side. You can ask us anything. We are pretty keen to talk about things like design or side projects or about the podcast in general.
Time management, blogging.
Blogging, anything that you have a question about. Maybe you are starting your own freelancing business. Maybe you're a designer working at a company and you want to start doing your own side projects on the side, or maybe you're writing a blog, or maybe you're thinking about starting a blog. You know, these are kind of things that Charlie and I have done on our own, and we've done those while having a day job. So we kind of understand the struggle there and the sort of work-life balance that comes with that. So feel free to ask us any questions about those.
Let's start off with, we had a question about blogging. about how we, like, what's the steps we take in writing our blog posts, right?
Yeah, we had a question from Shani, who asked us, it would be really cool to hear about your blog writing process. I have so many ideas, but I'm not sure where to begin.
Well, I'm the same, that I always have a lot of ideas for blog posts, and then I find it really hard to know when is the right time to write them, and you know, making the time to write them. I find I always write my blog posts on the tube, because there's no distractions at all. There's no internet for me to, you know, search by and get tabitis and open up a bunch of things and distract myself. So really all I can do is write or listen to a podcast or something. So I choose to try and use my time wisely and make it beneficial, that commute that I have, because it's like an hour long and I spend it writing. So I generally have in my notes app on my phone a list. Whenever I think of a topic I want to write a blog about, I start a new note in like a blog post folder.
That's nice.
And then when I'm sitting down to write on the tube, I'll be like, look at that list and decide which of those topics like jumps out at me today and do I still care about and want to write about. And then I will just go ahead and pour my thoughts out in the notes app and not worry about how long the post is and what photos I have to accompany it or anything like that yet. Just get my thoughts out and write it and do it as like a first draft, I suppose, that I can then come back to and refine later on. So I suppose my advice would be to limit distractions for yourself, because I don't know, if you're anything like me, I find writing to be quite difficult, so I need the less distractions possible. What about you?
Yeah, I think everyone kind of has a different style as well. Like some people are really good at doing it all in one go, or other people are good at sort of, you know, pottering along at it, doing a little bit here and a little bit there and going through like different drafts and edits. So I think kind of explore what works best for you. And I would recommend, like if you're thinking of starting a blog, to first identify your niche. And once you identify your niche, that will make it a lot easier for you to decide what to write about. Because if you're just starting a blog, you know, you really want to have a topic that you want to focus on. And I've kind of like, with my blog recently, I've been sort of trying out different topics, all kind of within the same umbrella of like design and marketing, etc. But kind of been trying out different angles of topics to talk about and seeing which one kind of stuck. And you know, I find the easiest thing to write about is to write about like what I do and things that I do in my own process for things. So that could be things like my onboarding process for clients, or I've got one coming out tomorrow about like putting together a getting started guide for your clients. So like if you're stuck on what topic you should blog about, just think about like what you do and the types of things that you can share. And I think that's a really good place to start when it comes to thinking about content that you could write about.
Yeah, and the thing is that those things might be like really obvious or boring to you.
Yeah.
But to someone else, that's completely new to them. And, you know, they like hearing other people's insights and how they work. Like, I always feel surprised when people ask me like about my to-do list or something, because I'm like, I mean, I love talking about to-do lists, but also like, doesn't everyone do to-do lists like this?
Well,
but
no.
it turns out they don't. Yeah,
exactly. Everybody has their own processes for things. And so like sharing your process in a blog post, I think is a great place to start and a great piece of content to share. And when it comes to my blog writing process, I'm kind of similar to you in that when I get ideas and inspiration, I write them down in a list, and I have like a dedicated day that I write my blog posts. So every Tuesday morning is like my dedicated blog writing day, because that's the only way I get it done. And so what I do is kind of like the night before, I'll look through that list and see if there's any that stand out to me and that inspire me. And that will be the one that I will then work on the next day. And I just use a Google Doc. So you do it on your phone. So do you do it in a notes app?
Just the notes app. And then because I have that synced from my phone to my computer, I can just copy and paste it into WordPress.
Yeah,
when
so
I'm at that stage.
You can use any writing tool, really. Google Docs, even the Notes app on your phone.
You could even write them by hand in a notebook if you wished, if you wanted to type it out again later.
Yeah. So once I've kind of got like the draft down, I usually get Owen to like edit it or review it for me. He used to be a writer, so that's quite handy that he kind of has that skill. So that's really good. It kind of goes through this proofreading phase. And yeah, I mean, that's really my process. I think when you start writing a blog post, it can be really daunting. Like you've got like a blank page and you're like, where do I start? And you second guess yourself and you do like lots of backspaces. but start with just like an outline. So I just kind of write down like the key takeaways that I want people to take away from their post. And then I kind of do bullet points underneath each, and it just starts forming on its own, basically.
Yeah. It might help too to not think of it as a blog post, but just write stuff. Like, write about this topic that you have, and don't worry about the fact that it's going on a blog and it has to be like blog worthy or whatever. Just write and get it out there.
Yeah.
And you can refine it and make it, you know, fit for other people to read later on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hopefully that's helpful.
Yeah, I hope so. Let's move on to some other questions that we have. So we have one that goes, how do you find the hours in the day? There's so little time left after work to do the hustle. That is a very good point.
Yes.
How do you find time, Fem?
Okay. It's like such a big, important question.
Yeah.
The thing is, like, you don't find time, you make time.
I feel like that should be our tagline.
I know.
We say that so much.
I feel like I say it all the time, but I try to remember that there's probably people that are hearing it for the first time.
Yeah, true.
And it takes hearing it like more than once to actually, I think,
and
absorb it.
And also to think about what that means, that you're not just discovering time places like, oh, I've got a spare 5 minutes. What shall I do with it?
Yeah.
For us, it's more about, okay, I can shift this, that I can make the time to do this instead, or I'm going to decide that's not an important thing I'm going to do so that I can make this gap of time to fill with something that is actually important to me.
Yeah, it's a lot about prioritizing, I think, and kind of evaluating what is a priority for you and what can be moved around and what you should be focusing on at the moment. And in this question, it says there's so little time left after work.
Ooh.
So maybe you should explore hustling before work, which is what Charlie and I do.
Yes. So we wake up very early. I lately have been waking up at about 5 o'clock-ish. Yeah.
Even
5:30. I'm going to say 5:30. Yeah. And then a little bit of a sleep in. And then get to work, basically. Just I have a to-do list that I've already planned out the day before, or earlier in the week, so I know what I'm going to get started on. Because when you first wake up, you don't want to be thinking about that sort of stuff. You just want tasks that you can start with immediately. And some tasks suit better in the morning than others. Do you find that there's some things that you don't like doing first thing in the morning?
Yeah. Well, the opposite. There's things that I don't like doing in the evening.
Yeah.
And I think that's because I'm more tired at that stage.
Yeah.
So like, usually I don't have the energy in the evening to write a blog post, for example, because I've used all of my creative energy already in the morning before I started work.
Yeah.
But you're opposite, right? Like I know that there's some things that you don't like getting up for, so to say.
Well, I definitely can't film a video in the morning. And I like to use the morning time where I've got like the house is quiet and it's all to myself, no distractions, for doing things like getting editing done, or what else? Yeah, it's mostly editing, or like, focused work that I want to be spending time on. So like last month I focused a lot on getting through a learn lettering course, and I did that in the mornings because it was just time that I could just have to myself to do what I needed to do. And things like copying my blog post from the Notes app that we just talked about before to WordPress, that's easy to do in the evening because it doesn't require much brain power and I don't need to think about it too much. It's just like admin tasks, I suppose.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't like doing in the morning.
I think there's also another level to it in terms of once you've prioritized that time, so you've said like, okay, at 6 a.m. I'm going to get up and I'm going to do this task. Then comes the next level of actually being able to focus on doing it. Yeah. Because if you get up at 6 a.m. and then get distracted by like, oh, let me just check Twitter and let me check my snaps and then I'll read the news and then Facebook and then maybe I'll browse Medium for a little bit. Like before you know it, the whole the first hour is completely gone. And so I think discipline comes a lot into that. And I think it helps to have that positive mindset when it comes to that as well. So like for me, it's kind of a rule that I don't check my phone or any social media before 8 a.m. So between 6 and 8 is like my focus time. And I don't think I've really ever broken that rule. Because,
that's amazing. I still don't know how you do that.
Well, because it's so sacred to me. Like it's so important to me. And yes, it might be hard the first few times, but once you kind of get into that and respect that rule that you've set for yourself, it gets a lot easier. And I actually enjoy those 2 hours of like internet silence, if you know what I mean. Because I mean, I'm getting hounded all day with notifications.
Yeah. Makes sense. But I don't know, I find it really hard to get up straight away after waking up. So even though I can wake up early, I can't just be like, right, hop out of bed.
Out of bed now. Ready
Unless
to go.
it's like something super urgent that needs to be done and I cannot waste a single minute because I'm stressed, you know, which is not how I always am, because that's a stressful way to live life. You don't want to be in that situation all the time. But I do always have like 15 minutes of scrolling through my phone.
You need to get better at that.
Yeah, I feel like this is a confessional. Yeah, I definitely need to get better at it. But yeah, to answer the question that we've rambled about, prioritizing and making the time.
Yeah, definitely. So figure out what's important to you and make the time to do that. And something that helps for me is, like I said, I designate days for things. So like Tuesday is blog writing day. Right? Yeah, like Monday is we release the podcast day, Wednesday we record the podcast, etc. So if you kind of like make that little schedule, that'll be easier to stick to, I think. But yeah, then there's like work-life balance and making sure you're not burning out. But
scheduling is an interesting point though, because I schedule like the life stuff as well. Like if I'm going to a gig, for example, which I do a lot of in London, in one evening, then I'll have that in my to-do list as a thing that I'll tick off that, okay, gig is something that I'm doing today. And that then I'll know that that thing's in there and I can't do as much as I am on other days. Yeah. So I have to make sure I get everything that needs to be done in the days before, and it sort of gives you a reason to work harder.
It's kind of like once you've added something to your schedule, like it's non-negotiable. Yeah. Like you've committed to it, you've prioritized it, you're going to follow through on it.
You have to respect your to-do list.
Yes, respect it. So when I have Thursday a blog post written, like, it's unnegotiable. I'm going to show up and I'm going to do that thing no matter what.
Yeah.
So self-discipline
is the answer.
Yeah. Thanks for the question.
Yeah. Now we have.
I see quite a few people have joined in since we started. So if you want to ask questions, you can do so on the right-hand side and we'll get to them soon.
Yes, please ask us questions. Side projects, design, time management, etc.
Anything.
Whatever you want to know. What our favorite color is even. We can talk about that. Okay, so our next question is from June. She says, do you feel like being young people and female has at all impacted responses to your work or career paths up to this point, either positively or negatively? And another question, is web design a field where being one or the other is not valued or is valued? That's a tough one.
Yeah.
I don't think so far that being young and female has impacted me. And I feel very, very lucky because of that, because I know that that is a rare case. You know, most people will find that sort of, you know, discrimination in some way. I've worked at tech companies most of my career, so I find they're pretty open actually to, diversity, I suppose, in gender and age, etc. And actually, I would say that tech companies are probably a little too young sometimes.
Yeah, well, tech companies are getting a lot of pressure to be diverse.
Yeah, true. So, and as for responses to my work, I don't know, not that I've ever encountered any negative responses. We've definitely had positive responses, right, with our podcast.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say, is that's something that comes to mind, is we often get people that are like thanking us for having Design Life because they struggle to find podcasts that are run by females or have female hosts. So that's kind of a positive response that we've experienced, which, you know, that feels kind of nice. Like it's quite rewarding to feel that way.
And I would say that too, in design, especially podcast land, there's so many male podcasts and I listen to a lot of them and I love them, don't get me wrong, but we just felt like there was a need to bring some female voices to it. So that's definitely had a positive response. As for, what was the other part of the question?
Is web design a field where being one or the other is?
Web designers, I feel like most web designers I know of are male. And I don't know how this happened, because in design school, the class I feel was mostly female. And I studied visual communication design at Massey University in Wellington. And there was a vast majority of females in the class. But I did find that in different disciplines, that balance shifted. So I was in graphic design and there was more females doing that. But there was definitely more males in animation and motion graphics.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah. And I think that probably more males in the like interactive / web design stream as well. And the last company I worked at, there was actually a vast majority of male designers.
Yeah, I
like,
often find that as well.
Yeah, which is quite interesting. And it's not something you notice straight away, right? And then you realize and you're like, hang on a second.
But if I think to like the designers I follow on Twitter, the majority are male. But I mean, that's not necessarily to assume that there aren't female designers. Maybe they're just not on Twitter.
Or just not as outspoken, I suppose. I don't know.
Yeah.
Every now and then you find a female designer who you like just connect with, and like you're like, you're a cool person and I'm definitely going to follow you, and that's always a really good day.
Yeah, because you have something in common, like you're both female.
We actually started a Twitter list, right, of creative people to follow.
Yes, we did.
How do people find Twitter lists? I think you just go to our Twitter profile.
Yes, I think on our Twitter profile you can see lists
and
somewhere there, and you'll see it.
And I think it's called like Interesting Creatives or something like that.
Yeah, we put together a list of people that we find really interesting or inspiring, and you can go and find them there and follow them. Yeah, so there's a few females on there.
Yeah, there is. We definitely tried to add females to that list. So that was cool. June has left a little comment. I don't know if anyone else can see this with this weird Google Hangout setup, but she says if anyone's having trouble finding the chat, you have to press the little squares icon above the frame by the question mark and press Q&A, not showcase. We'll open up a question box at the side. I had a hard time. Thank you, June, for saying that.
Yeah. We don't know if we see the same as what you see.
So
thanks for clarifying for anybody else.
Okay, let's move on to this question.
Stephanie.
Yeah, Stephanie has asked, do you need to know many coding languages to be a web designer? We did a podcast about this recently, about designers and code. Yes. I think it was episode 25, if I remember correctly.
Good memory.
I think I just remember writing it a lot.
It's quite a popular episode.
Yeah, quite a hot topic of designers and code. So we're of the opinion that web design doesn't mean web development, that they're two separate things. But we also, I think, our conclusion we came to during this podcast episode was that it's really useful for web designers to know and have an understanding of code and how it works. Is that fair to say?
I think that's fair to say. I mean, your question, Stephanie, do you need to know? I think the answer is no, you don't need to know, but it could be helpful in your situation to know a little bit about code. I don't think you need to be like a fully like professional web developer, but if you have a basic understanding of HTML and CSS or whatever languages are relevant to the environment that you're in, then I think that is beneficial.
It also helps you, if in my situation, I work with a developer who brings my designs to life and codes them. So knowing like the terminology and the code that he's using is really useful for me because we can communicate better and I can like dive in and look at his code and be like, oh, this needs to move 10 pixels up like this. And then he can make that change without, rather than me going, it'd be better if this goes a bit like this, I really want to get to know a bit more JavaScript, I think, or about CSS animations, those sort of.
Yeah, that's becoming really hot right now.
Yeah, interaction things, because I just have no idea how to do them at all. Like, I can code a basic static website fine in HTML and CSS, but animations are just so over my head and I need to, I think it would help me to get to know them because then I'd, not so I can code them, but so I know what's possible.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's where it becomes helpful, I think, is like knowing the limitations of code. And so I kind of touch on this in the episode where like there's been the occasion that I design something and hand it to Owen and he's like, this is really complicated in code and it's kind of out of the scope of this project. And so like that's, I think, a good example of where it would be useful to know code and then like understand the limitations of it when it comes to creating your design.
Yeah, I hope that helps, Stephanie, and that answers your question. Feel free to, like, if we didn't answer it enough, leave a follow-up question.
Yeah, feel free to.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, let's do this one here from Brent. He says, once it loads, what's a major goal you're currently working towards? For example, are you looking to go freelance full-time, get to a point where your side project becomes your full-time job, etc.? We'd love to hear what you're working towards.
Good question, Brent.
Big question.
What are our hopes and dreams? Do you want to go first?
Yeah, let me decide what I want first.
You're going to decide on the spot right now what your goal is.
Well, right now, I'm really happy working full-time. I would like my job to be a bit freer in my time, like maybe eventually several years down the track or like, I don't know, 1 year down the track or whenever the time frame ends up being, I could drop down to like 4 days a week or something, and have an extra day to do my side project stuff. That could be quite cool. But I feel like I'm definitely still learning a lot from my job and I don't know if I'd want to do the kind of web design I do at my job freelance. Does that make sense? Like I really like being an in-house web designer. That's where the situation that I like doing web design in. So for now, I'm really enjoying that. And I feel like I still have time to devote to my side projects, though it is getting very squeezed. As for where I'd like my side projects to go, I want them to keep growing, keep getting more of an audience, obviously, as I'm sure most people with side projects that require audiences do. And I would like to get into doing more like graphic design type of freelance work. So apparel design, for example, and designing merch is something I'd really like to get into. I'm making little roads into that, but yeah, it's definitely still a work in progress and something that I'm working towards. But I suppose like thinking years down the track, like future life goal, I would like to be self-sufficient and I suppose living off my side projects in a way, but from the design work I do with them.
Yeah.
Does it make sense? I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, that's a good answer.
How about you, Fem?
Yeah, well, I mean, my goals are to create my own projects and monetize them, basically. Whether that is going to turn into my full-time thing, yet to be determined. Maybe I can do it while I'm still at my day job. I really enjoy my day job. As I said, I work at Atomic and I get to do both design and marketing and communications. So it's a really small startup, which means I kind of get to wear a lot of hats. So each day is different. And I mean, I'm only just now approaching my first year of full-time work.
Whoa.
I know.
Isn't that amazing?
I know.
Oh my God.
I'm such a baby.
No, that's inspiring. That's so cool. Like, look where you are already.
Yeah. So for me, because I've only been in the workforce full-time for almost a year, I still feel like I have lots to learn from there. And I am learning a lot while I'm there. And I want to continue making the most of that opportunity and that experience and learn more and, you know, take those learnings to create my own things. As I said, whether I then do that full time is yet to be determined. I mean, I would eventually like to be able to have the opportunity or the option to go self-sufficient, but I guess it depends on the success of those projects.
I don't think that side projects too have to be full time for them to like benefit you. Like sometimes a side project just being a side project is enough and you feel fulfilled from that.
Totally,
you know?
yeah. And I think that's okay too. Like sometimes I get pressure from other people to like, oh, like when are you going full-time freelance? Or people might not take me seriously because I'm not a full-time freelance designer, but I do freelance client work. And I mean, I disagree. Like I'm totally happy and totally enjoying the current like overlap that I have.
Yeah.
And I'm learning different things from each avenue. And yeah, I mean, I'm having fun and creating cool things. So
I think that when you're working out like how you want to spend your time, you have to think about the things you enjoy doing and what you want to fill your time with. And obviously you need to earn money from some of them so that you can live. And right now I'm meeting like everything that I want to do is being fulfilled. Like I like web design and working on, you know, challenging things for a product with like lots of customers and things like that. And I get that from my day job. And then I have my other outside creative pursuits in my side projects. So to give up the day job would mean giving up that huge part of the thing that fulfills me. So I'd have to find another way to do that.
Well, yeah, you don't want to put stress or pressure on your side projects.
Yeah, that too.
Like my full-time job pays all my bills, for example.
Yeah.
And if I suddenly got rid of that, that puts a lot of pressure on making money from my side projects and my client work. And, you know, then I could maybe start making the wrong decisions because I might get really desperate to make money this month. And, you know, I think I want to be able to be in a better position when I do make that switch over.
And that like puts less pressure on your side projects and they can not be crushed by like,
they can stay a passion. And not have those pressures of like giving you money.
And responsibility and like, you have to work for me now, side project.
Do your job.
Okay, I hope that answers
Thanks for the
that
question, Brent.
For anyone who's joined in the meantime, you can ask questions. I think there's like a little square with dots up the side and you click on the Q&A, not showcase, I think is the current way to go. Let's answer this one here. Ooh, this is an interesting one from Simon. He says, have you ever considered a vlog for design life?
Have we?
We have not considered it. I have my own vlog. So I have a YouTube channel. It is Charlie Marie TV. If you just type that into search, it should show up. And I vlog my week. So, well, generally anyway, I'll take my camera around with me throughout my day and chat about my work, chat about my side projects and the like fun stuff I'm doing. Just generally give people like a glimpse into my life, which is really fun. I don't know how it would work to do a combined vlog for both of us because we don't live together.
That's what I was gonna say. It's like when I think of a vlog, I think of like, you know, showing your day. And
even just a video of like sat down with us both talking to the camera.
Yeah, like because we live in different cities, like I live in Amsterdam and Charlie lives in London.
Yeah.
I just don't know how that would work. Like, I mean, obviously we could take our own footage and mash it together, but I don't know if that is compelling enough to watch or would be interesting to watch.
Yeah. I don't know. We do have a YouTube channel now because of this live stream that we're doing now.
We had to have one.
Yeah. So this is going to be on a YouTube channel. So who knows? We might put some other stuff on there. Yeah. In the future. Oh, and Simon just says it's a good channel. Music recommendations +1. Thanks, Simon.
That's very nice.
I'm assuming you were meaning my channel. That's really big-headed if you weren't. So yeah, vlog, not currently, but not writing it off for the future.
Yeah. If there is something though that you would like us to see branch into, then let us know. Like type it in a question or send us a tweet.
Yeah, we're still thinking about the future of our podcast and everything. So yeah, I don't know. And because I keep seeing new people join, so I'm just going to say it again. If you want to ask a question, then you click the little dots up the whatever side it's on, and then the Q&A button, and then you should be able to type in a question there. Okay, do you want to read this one out?
Yes.
I'm reading them all out.
We got a question from Mario, and he said, I'm currently in college and working in a marketing agency and feel there isn't much room for me to grow there. Should I move on to things that interest me or stick around to make connections and figure out the ins and the outs first? Were you happy with your first job? This
is your first job, right?
I'm currently in my first job.
So you are happy with it, is the answer?
I am happy with my first job. End of answer.
Yeah, but I don't think yours is like a normal situation though, to walk into such an amazing job straight out
I was very lucky. I got asked to work at the place that I currently work at now. They knew me through some mutual connections, and I mean, it's really exciting. We're a startup in the whole tech world sector, and we're building some really exciting software. So, I mean, I feel very lucky to be offered that job, and I was actually offered that job when I was living in New Zealand and got to bring that job with me to Amsterdam.
Which is amazing.
So now I work remotely by myself from home here in Amsterdam, while the rest of my team is in New Zealand, which I can say is a terrible time zone. But I feel very lucky that I got to literally travel to the other side of the world, keep my job, and not have to worry about finding a new job in a totally new country. So yeah. I really like my job.
Fem is a very special case, I think. My first job out of uni, I actually started it when I was still in university. So in my last year, I actually was only doing one paper in my last semester, which meant that I had a lot more spare time than a lot of other students in my class did. And I went for a job working at a company that sold things like heat pumps and fridges. It was Mitsubishi Electric. Mouthful. And they were looking for someone to do, I think it was about 30 hours a week. It was like 3 days or something, just doing graphic design stuff. So I was on their marketing team and designing brochures and ads and like things for events, stuff like that. And it wasn't like an amazing like changing the world company or anything like that, but I enjoyed it because I was being paid to do the design work that currently, well, when I was at university, I was paying to do design work, you know?
To actually be paid for your skill is so rewarding.
That just felt amazing. And I just had this realization, like when I was sitting at this job, I was like, okay, if I don't screw this up somehow, then for the rest of my life, I don't have to work in retail anymore. Because that's what I've been doing up until then for like 6 years of my life or however long it was. I'd been working in stores at part-time to make money. So it just felt amazing to me that I could be paid to, make money. So to answer your question, Mario, I would say that you should make the most of it and find the good points. Like, I don't think a first job is going to be perfect. And if, like you said, there's not room to grow there, just get out as much from it as you can, and then you can have that for your CV and move on and up to something better. I sort of did that, I think, with my first job. Like, I wanted to move into doing more web design stuff, and there was talk of me doing it more at that job. Like, we just launched a new website and we wanted to do some more like Facebook apps and things like that. And I was still new at web design, and, you know, it was going to be a good opportunity, but I was able to make the leap and join like a tech company. And that was a really good like jumping off point for me, and it was time to move on. Like I think when something else comes up, you'll know that that's the opportunity you should take. But I wouldn't leave until you've got something else to go for, because if you're currently in college and you're working in marketing, and if that is the like area you want to move into, then you're already ahead of so many other people who you know, haven't got experience yet. So yeah.
And there's still so much time, like you're only in your first job and you're still in college. So yeah, I think I would encourage you to make the most of the opportunity and the learnings that you're learning there. If there's not really opportunity to grow, then maybe just absorb and learn as much as you can in your existing position. And, you know, if there's other things that you want to learn them outside of your job. And then, yeah, package up all those skills and experiences that you've learned and take them to a better job.
Yeah. And don't just like go by what they give you too. If you're feeling like you're not getting enough work, or, you know, not doing the kind of things you want to be doing, if you sort of have this like, well, there's nothing I can lose sort of attitude to it, then you could push the boundaries of your job and take the task they're giving you and do even more than that and do the stuff you want to be doing and see how they take it. They might be like super impressed with the way that you're taking initiative, and it could turn out really well for you.
Yeah.
Oh, we had another question about jobs that could come well next. Where is it? This one. Okay, so Stephanie asks, how can you earn experience in design so you can get a job? Many of the jobs in my area are looking for designs with more experience or a degree. This is like the catch-22 of all creative fields, I feel. Like they want experience, but you can't get a job without
to get the experience.
Yeah. It makes no sense.
Yeah.
It's really difficult.
It's dumb. But I mean, if you can't, if you need the experience to get a job, but you can't get a job because you don't have the experience, then find the experience somewhere else. So freelance, or just do side projects, or like do something for fun that you don't like, a personal project that you don't share with anyone, but at least you kind of get the skills and the experience they're looking for. If they're looking for like years of experience, then that's a little trickier. But if they're looking for like something more specific that you could maybe pursue in your own time, then that could be something to explore.
Yeah, you like just keep your eyes open for opportunities. So how I got my first design experience was while I was working in retail, actually. And the person, I worked at this children's wear store, first off, and the person who did our email newsletters left or got fired or something. He wasn't there anymore, and they didn't have anyone to do their emails. And they were like, hey, Charlie, you do design. Do you want to maybe try and design an email for us? And I was like, yes, this is it. This is my opportunity.
Chance.
You know, I was just a retail assistant working on the shop floor. But because I talked about design, and because they knew I was a designer and that I was obviously passionate about it, they thought to ask me to do that. And even though it was terrible design, like I'd never show anyone that now. It was terrible. It was the first thing.
But it was the experience.
Yes. And then I was able to go to this job that I got at Mitsubishi Electric in the interview. So they knew they were hiring a uni student, but I had my t-shirt company. So that was a side project where I was doing design for myself, and I was selling to customers. You know, people were buying my design work, and they could see that I was obviously passionate about designing those things. And then I could show these newsletters that I designed, even though they were ugly. The point was that I'd worked with a client, and, you know, I could explain the process that we went through to create those newsletters, and that's what gave them some faith in me, I suppose.
You created your own experience.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. So keep an eye out for those opportunities, and don't be afraid to talk and share what you do. So like if you're meeting someone for the first time, don't be afraid to say, I'm a designer, I do this and this and this, and I've recently been working on this. Like, you never know, that person might be looking for a designer, or they might know somebody who is looking for a designer and can give you that experience. So, you know, practice your pitch, I guess, of like who you are and what you do, and you never know who you're going to meet. And once you share that with them, then there could be opportunities there that you didn't know before. And
definitely what you just said, then tell people you're a designer.
Yeah.
Don't say I'm studying design.
No.
Just be like, I'm a designer.
Because you are.
Yeah, you're a designer. That's what you do, is you design things.
Yep.
So don't feel shy about calling yourself that. So yeah, to sum up, I guess, don't look for experience as being like a job you have to have. It can come from a bunch of different things. And eventually, like, it sounds so like wishy-washy, but it will add up, and it will happen. Like if you're passionate enough and you try and find those opportunities,
yeah,
it will happen.
Hope that's helpful. Stephanie.
Okay, next one. Let's go for this one here from Sarah. You want to read it?
Yes, Sarah asked, what was your largest hurdle to get over in starting the Design Life podcast? Now that you're over 25 episodes in, what do you find to be the biggest blessing since starting?
Okay, so there's sort of two questions there. Let's
So
go for
biggest hurdle.
Yeah. Just podcasting itself, I suppose. That was like learning how to record a podcast, how to edit a podcast, what the heck microphone we should buy. This was all things that were totally new to us, right?
We had no idea. And then also like figuring out the logistics, especially because we live in different cities and we actually are in different time zones as well, even though it's only by an hour. Figuring out like, how do we record our own audio? Like, do I record my own? Do you record your own? Does my computer record both of ours? Like, all of that logistics.
Does our microphone still work if we're on Skype? Like,
because we've tried like a few different voice calling tools, and on some of them the microphones work, and on others they don't work. So it's like it's a complete learning experience. And like we did, I think, 3 practice episodes before,
that no one will ever hear.
No one will ever hear them. They've been edited very roughly. I think we just did those with our Apple headphones.
Yeah, we just were practicing getting going and the system. And
so it was quite a lot of learning. I think we probably spent a good month, even maybe longer, before releasing the first episode of just like practicing, getting used to the tools we have to use, buying the equipment, trying the equipment, figuring out like a schedule that worked best for us, how often we're going to record. Yeah, all of those hurdles.
And then how to get the podcast on iTunes.
Yes. Okay, so I don't know about you, but I thought you literally like go into iTunes and upload a file.
Yeah, I thought that too.
But that's not what happens. It works off like an RSS feed. So you have to have like a blog, for example, which we have. And I basically publish a new blog post with the episode in it. And iTunes recognizes that and publishes that as a new episode. Who knew?
Yeah,
not
so
me.
That was a big hurdle, like a big learning curve for us. But it's a good one though. Like I feel like now we have that knowledge.
Yeah, now we know how to podcast, I think.
Woo! The second part of the question, what do you find to be the biggest blessing since starting? What do you think?
I think our existing audiences were quite a blessing. So, you know, Charlie and I each do our own side projects, and through those we've each grown our own audience. And when we launched the podcast, we each had our own audience to launch to. So we didn't launch to crickets, which I think was quite a blessing. I think a lot of people, when they launch a podcast, start with not much of an audience. So we were quite lucky in that we already had that existing audience, I think.
And also how lovely everyone was about it. Like, nobody laughed at us. That was the best thing, you know?
Yeah. We've had so much positive feedback.
Yeah.
It's been really nice.
Like every single time someone sends a nice email or a nice tweet, we're both like text each other and we're like,
did you see
it? It's so cute.
That person's so nice.
Yeah, it just makes our day. So yeah, it's a good feeling to have people respond positively to your work. Like obviously that's something that you always want. So that's been a blessing too, I suppose.
Yeah.
Right.
Thanks for the question, Sarah.
Yeah, that's a good question. Real feel good. Okay. Oh, this one is related. Bernardo asks, how about those? What were those practice episodes about? What do we do to hear them? Well, first of all, the audio quality is terrible, so I don't think you want to hear them.
And the editing is pretty terrible.
One of them was about design inspiration, I think. And we then recorded a proper episode about that, didn't we?
Yeah, I think so.
I've got no idea what the number is of that.
Another one that we did as a practice episode was about design tools.
Yep, that's right.
Which we haven't done an episode.
I don't know.
A legit episode.
Would you be interested in hearing an episode about design tools? Let us know.
Yeah. I can't remember what the third one was,
Me
unfortunately. Neither. But they're not online, basically. They're saved in my Dropbox folder somewhere. I considered deleting them the other day, but then I was like,
they're a piece of history.
Yeah, they're history. So we'll keep them there. Maybe, like, I don't think we'll ever launch them, but we might, like, do the topics that we did in those practice episodes and do an actual legitimate episode on them.
Yeah, like we did with the inspiration one. And I promise you that all of the episodes that have gone live are much better than them anyway. So it doesn't matter.
Yes.
Okay. Question from June. She says, what are your goals for Design Life and how would you like to see it grow? Guest hosts, product reviews. We ran a survey recently, didn't we? And we asked people like what they liked about our show, what they wanted to see more of. There was some really good responses. And we haven't really discussed yet even how we're going to like apply those things.
I think you being here is probably a good opportunity for us to discuss those.
Have a meeting.
Yeah, so professional. But yeah, we don't really have any set in stone plans. Like there have been things that we've thrown around with each other, but we don't have any like real definitive plans to actually execute those. In terms of guest hosts.
Yeah, people said that they'd like to see guests on our show, which is really difficult for us because we don't want to lower our audio quality. So we don't want to, you know, have people recorded over Skype audio because that's just not something that we personally enjoy listening to. So we don't want to publish that ourselves.
Yeah, I guess like we kind of respect our standard, I suppose. And it's really important for us that the podcast be of high quality, both in terms of like content and the actual sound. Yeah. So doing guest interviews can get really difficult when it comes to that. But yeah, we have had quite a lot of people request them. We've even had people actually emailing us asking to be a guest on the show. But at the moment, our policy is that we don't do those. I think if people keep requesting them, then we might consider it. But
we'd have to work out a way to get with good audio quality. I don't know if anyone wanted to be a guest who owned a microphone. That could be useful.
I think at the moment, like, I think we have good chemistry and I think we have good things to say, just the two of us. So it's not really something we're actively looking into right now.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, excuse that motorbike outside. That was a motorbike outside. We're right by a canal in Amsterdam too, which is exciting.
Right there.
Let's see, what have we got? Oh, cool. Bernardo says, yes to design tools. I showed Charlie's wireframe video to my students. It would be hard to have more tool-orientated resources.
Design tools are really hot right now. I feel like lots of people are talking about design tools. It's kind of ironic. Like, I actually work at a design tool. So
I work at a design tool. That sounds so funny.
Well, for a design tool, I guess. Atomic is a design tool. Yeah. So, I mean, I hear a lot about design tools on an everyday basis. But even just when I'm out and about, people are talking about design tools. So it's really hot right now.
Let's quickly do a rundown of tools now. Like, what is your number one most used design tool?
Definitely Sketch.
Yeah, same. Yeah, that was easy. I wasn't like so hot on Sketch at first. Yeah. Like, because I had a workflow in Photoshop. I made a video about this already, so I feel like I'm repeating myself, even though the people watching this probably haven't seen that video. But I was so used to working in Photoshop and I like had my process down that breaking that to move to getting to know a new program just didn't seem like a smart thing to do, you know? Like, but I'm so glad that I put in the time to get to know Sketch because it's just made things so much faster and so much better for me.
It's not often that designers do switch tools because it is quite a time-consuming thing to do. You have to learn a whole new tool. Even, I mean, I talk to designers every day. I see designers who dislike the tool that they're currently using, but they're not motivated enough to switch because they don't want to have to learn the whole new tool, and then they have to convince the designers and the developers that they work with to also switch to that tool. And, you know, that becomes a huge burden, I think. Yeah, so
I always found myself complaining about Photoshop. So I'm glad that I switched because my moans about Sketch are just when it crashes on me. You know, that happens all the time to me. But the actual using the tool itself, like the function of it, I love it. Like, everything's great, so I don't need to worry about that anymore.
Yeah, I think I'm pretty happy with Sketch right now. It pretty much fulfills all of my design needs. Obviously, I prototype in Atomic because that's where I work, and it's a great design tool. So yeah, I kind of pair Sketch and Atomic together.
And I do use the Adobe suite as well for like anything more static, like photos and things. Obviously we use Photoshop for editing. I make GIF ads sometimes as well because that is just the life of a marketing designer. Sometimes you have to make ads. Okay, we have another question from Sean. Sean says, how can you be innovative in design? There's that saying, right, that everything is a remix.
Yeah.
Is that a book? I think we've had this discussion.
I think it's a YouTube video.
Oh, yeah, we have had this discussion.
Yeah. Yeah, which that basically means that nothing is original anymore. Like everything stems from something that already has existed in the world or is inspired by something that already exists in the world.
But just because something stems from something else or is inspired by something else, I don't think that means it's not innovative. because it's about the way you use that inspiration and the way you combine different things to make something that's more unique. And then you can expect that in the future your like unique thing will be spun off and someone will, you know, take inspiration from that. It's just the way that design and all creative fields, I suppose, tend to work.
Yeah, I think, how can you be innovative in design? I mean, obviously you need to keep up to date with what's happening in your field, but you know, you don't want to start directly copying people's work. And there's that really good Austin Kleon book
that I always talk about.
What's it called?
Steal Like an Artist.
Steal Like an Artist. Yeah. That's a book by Austin Kleon where he talks about stealing like an artist.
Yeah, so basically that's about looking at other people's work and stealing in a good way. So like taking little bits and pieces that inspire you and combining them all together to make something new, like I was just saying. So that's how artists steal. They don't just directly copy something else, because that's not art, that's just duplicating, you know. But stealing like an artist means taking inspiration from loads of different places and putting them all together to make something new. Yes.
Cool. I don't think I see any more
questions in our list. Do we need, where does this question thing come up in the end? Is it on the left-hand side or the right? I don't know.
First it's on the left-hand side.
Right. But might be on the right for you. But if you hover over some little dots, there'll be like a little Q&A icon if there's any last questions to ask before we wrap up.
Yeah, it's getting close to wrapping up. So your last opportunity to ask us questions about design or side projects.
Obviously, we're always going to be available on Twitter, though.
Yes.
So if you do, like, it's not now or never. But
no, it's not now or never.
But this is the only time you've got to see us answering your question for the next little while anyway. We'd really like to know if you enjoyed this, actually, if you've been watching this Q&A and you'd want to see more.
Yeah,
maybe you have to come visit me in London sometime.
Yeah, I need to. We kind of like, for the first one, just wanted to get a feel for how it would go and do a bit of a Q&A, but potentially we could do like more topic specific focused sessions. And that would be interesting. I think that could be a nice way to talk about a specific topic.
Oh, can we see your cat, Mika?
Ah.
Oh, okay. Owen's coming in with a cat.
Yes, you can see my cat.
He's really cute. Watch out, everybody.
Is he actually coming?
Yeah, he doesn't look happy about it.
Oh, he was probably sleeping because it's post-dinner.
Here we go.
Mika.
Yeah.
Charlie will cuddle him.
Oh, he looks so concerned.
Oh,
he's so cute. So oh, we have another question while we're dealing with this cat.
We'll answer actual questions.
Wonder if Mika wants to answer it.
Simon, would you guys consider traveling for a conference?
Definitely.
Yes.
We've traveled for conferences quite a bit, actually.
Yes. Last year we went to Belgium together for a conference. You've traveled here for the next web. We're both going to Web Summit later this year in Portugal, and we're also both going to the Sean West conference in Texas in October.
Woohoo!
We're going to like 4 conferences together internationally over the next year. Yeah, it's quite cool.
Yeah, so definitely we'll consider traveling for a conference. Sometimes that's a really fun reason to travel. Like we went to the Kick Design Festival in Namur in Belgium, and that is not a place that I probably would have ever visited, right? Without
I didn't even know it existed.
No, same. It was such a small town. Like it was like 2 hours out of Brussels or something.
Yeah. It was a little like medieval town.
Yeah. So it was like a nice reason to see that town was to go to a conference there. Yeah. Let us know, Simon, if you have any conferences in particular in mind that we should travel to.
Yes, let us know. Yeah. I'm pretty sure Simon is in the UK. So if you know of any UK conferences, it's close to you.
Yes. Is that all for the questions? I think that's all for the questions.
Yes. I think
Natasha wants to see more about the cat. Oh. Here we go. What does Mika think about design? That does not look incredibly excited about it.
Okay, well, looks like that is a wrap up of the questions. So thank you to everybody who came and attended. This is our first like
live stream.
Not even just for Design Life, but in general. Like neither of us have ever done a live stream before. So if you have any feedback on what we could improve upon, let us know, because we want to make them better in the future. Hopefully we will do another one in the future.
Yeah, I hope, well, if you enjoyed it, then we'll definitely do another one. We will find a way.
We'll find a way.
Head to designlife.fm and listen to all our episodes if you haven't done so already. I'm not sure how you would have found this live stream if you haven't listened to our podcast, but just in case. There's lots of episodes up about design and side projects, general ways to live a creative and, what's the word I'm looking for, productive life as well.
And we're on Twitter as well at DesignLifeFM. If you maybe had a question, but you were too shy to post it here, which I hope you were not too shy, then you can ask us on there as well. We both have access to the account, so we'll both see your questions.
Yep.
Or you can email us too if you'd rather it be private.
I think that's hello@designlife.fm.
Yeah, send us an email if you want to have a bit more of an in-depth conversation.
We're always open to hearing about topic suggestions as well. Looks like we'll be adding design tools to our list of
we will.
upcoming topics. So anything else you want to hear us talk about, let us know. I don't know if we could do a whole episode talking about Mika though, so don't ask for that.
Okay, I think that wraps it up. Thanks guys so much for joining. And this will be available as a replay, by the way. So if you missed the beginning, don't worry, you can watch it later.
Yeah. Thanks for coming.
All right.
See you on the podcast.
Yeah, see you guys.
Bye.
Bye.